Yet again, look up, dear Christian brethren, and amend your prayers from this time forth. Look on prayer no longer as a romantic fiction or as an arduous duty. Look at it as a real power, as a real pleasure. When philosophers discover some latent power, they seem to have a delight to put it in action. I believe there have been many great engineers who have designed and constructed some of the most wonderful of human works, not because they would be remunerative, but simply from a love of showing their own power to accomplish wonders. To show the world what skill could do and what men could accomplish, they have tempted companies into speculations that could never remunerate apparently, so far as I could see, in order that they might have an opportunity of displaying their genius. O Christian men, and shall a great engineer attempt great works and display his power, and will you, who have a mightier power than ever was wielded by any man apart from his God, will you let that be still? Nay, think of some great object. Strain the sinews of your supplication for it. Let every vein of your heart be full to the brim with the rich blood of desire, and struggle, and wrestle, and tug, and strive with God for it, using the promises, pleading the attributes, and see if God does not give you your heart's desire. I challenge you this day to exceed in prayer my Master's bounty. I throw down the gauntlet to you. Believe him to be more than he is. Open your mouth so wide that he cannot fill it. Go to him now for more faith than the promise warrants. Venture it. Risk it. Outdo the eternal if it be possible. Attempt it. Or, as I would rather put it thus, take your petitions and wants, and see if he does not honor you. Try whether, if you believe him, he doth not fulfill the promise, and richly bless you with the anointing oil of his Spirit, by which you will be strong in prayer. I cannot refrain from adding just these few syllables as you go away. I know there are some of you that never prayed in your lives. You have said a form of prayer, perhaps many years, but have never prayed once. Ah, poor soul, you must be born again. And until you are born again, you cannot pray as I have been directing the Christian to pray. But let me say this much to you. Does your heart long after salvation? Has the Spirit whispered, "Come to Jesus, sinner, he will hear you"? Believe that whisper, for he will hear you. The prayer of the awakened sinner is acceptable to God. He heareth the broken in heart, and healeth them too. Take your groans and your sighs to God, and he will answer you. Ah, but says one, I have nothing to plead. Well, but plead as David did. Pardon my iniquity, for it is great. You have that plea. Your iniquity is very great. Then plead that precious blood, that all-prevailing plea. Say, for his dear sake who shed his blood, and you shall prevail, sinner. But do not go to God and ask for mercy with thy sin in thy hand. What would you think of the rebel who appeared before the face of his sovereign and asked for pardon with the dagger sticking in his belt and with the declaration of his rebellion on his breast? Would he deserve to be pardoned? He could not deserve it in any case, and surely he would deserve double his doom, for having thus mocked his master while he pretended to be seeking mercy. If a wife had forsaken her husband, do you think she would have the impudence, with brazen forehead, to come back and ask his pardon, leaning on the arm of her paramour? No, she could not have such impudence. And yet it is so with you, perhaps asking for mercy and going on in sin, praying to be reconciled to God, and yet harboring and indulging your lust. Awake, awake, and call upon thy God, thou sleeper. The boat is nearing the rock. Perhaps tomorrow it may strike and be shivered, and thou be cast into the unfathomable depths of everlasting woe. Call on thy God, I say, and when thou callest upon him, cast away thy sin. for he cannot hear thee. If thou lift up thy unholy hands, with a lie in thy right hand, a prayer is worthless on thy lip. O come unto him, say unto him, Take away all iniquity, receive us graciously, love us freely. And he will hear you, and you shall yet pray as prevailing princes, and one day shall stand as more than conquerors before the starry throne of him who ever reigns, God over all, blessed for evermore.